Week 1 of this NFL season is in the books, and oh boy was it one to remember. We had a ton of great matchups this week and instant QB classics between some of the best in the league. Overall, this was a fun week to get into the season, and I'm going to analyze it all for you right here. Before we get into it, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's do it. Starting with Week 1, Thursday Night Football, Cowboys versus the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. Opening up the season, we have the first matchup, the Dallas Cowboys traveling into Philadelphia to take on the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. Going into this game, most people were relatively confident Philly was going to win in convincing fashion, as Dallas has just traded one of the best defensive players in the league in Micah Parsons. But, surprisingly enough, this game was tight. No major injuries until the opening kickoff when the Eagles' fullback was carted off, and Jalen Carter was ejected from the game for spitting on Dak Prescott. Now, Jalen Carter just got to be smarter than that. Dak Prescott did bait him a little bit, spitting in his direction, but ultimately, you can't spit on someone. That's going to get you ejected 10 times out of 10. So losing Jalen Carter, the world thought maybe Dallas had a chance, but ultimately, Philadelphia still came up on top with the victory. For the Cowboys, Dak Prescott is the main story of this game. He played a good game. Well, there were a lot of missed opportunities on that offense. I think Schottenheimer did a good job calling this game. I think Dak did a good job. I think where Dak and the Cowboys offense were hurt the most were the mistakes. The Miles Sanders fumble, the CeeDee Lamb drops that ended up being 3 that could have totally shifted this game, and they could have easily stolen this one if it was not for those costly mistakes by the Cowboys offense. But overall, if you're a Cowboys fan, I feel like there's a little bit of optimism about the offense. The passing game looks good. Running game looked a little sketchy here and there, but maybe Schottenheimer will be able to get it going. And as for the defense, originally this game was a slicing and dicing shootout, but in the second half, they locked in, they made the adjustments, and shout out to Matt Eberflus for shutting down that Philadelphia's unit. They completely took A.J. Brown in the passing game out of it, and Saquon had a measly game, honestly. 60 yards for like 3-point-something yards per carry. That's not a monster game, and I think they did enough to win this game, but ultimately it was the mistakes that weighed them down. As for Philly, gotta shout out Jalen Hurts. This was a phenomenal game by him. While the passing game was not there and Saquon wasn't necessarily playing at an elite level tonight, Jalen Hurts was able to take over, and he wore that Cowboys defense down with those on-the-run scrambles that he's been doing. Whenever it looks hopeless in the passing game, Jalen Hurts takes off and he gets the first down, and that was just absolutely back-breaking. It killed them in the first half, and ultimately Jalen Hurts clutched up and finished out the game with a intermediate scramble for the first down. So overall, Philadelphia's offense definitely needs to work on the passing game, but I liked what I saw out of Jalen Hurts here. He looks like an elite QB, and he looks like he's in for another big year, as he was absolutely weighing down that Cowboys defense. Even though the offense went stagnant in the second half, you saw a lot of things you liked, and I do think Philadelphia is going to be right back at the top again. Next matchup takes us to Friday Night Football in Brazil as the Chiefs are taking on the Chargers. And this game was a good one. Some things to be consider about this game. I'm a little nervous about the Chiefs receivers, I won't lie. I mean, yeah, Hollywood had 100 yards, but like before it was 8 catches for like 30 yards. Besides the chunk play, there wasn't much going there. As for the rest of the Chiefs, that defense looked sloppy. Herbert went absolutely ballistic. You gotta shout him out there. And he did a great job despite the Chargers not necessarily doing what they specialize in, and that's running the ball. Omarion Hampton was kept relatively in check, and it was Herbert taking over this game. He looked absolutely out of this world. He was making every big-time throw. He was running. He was looking loose, and he looks healthier than ever. Overall, scary year for Herbert. I think he could have a potential MVP season loading. We'll see how that goes from here. But as for the Chiefs, I'm not going to blame Mahomes for this one. I mean, look at the receivers. Travis Kelce does not look the same. Yeah, he caught a nice catch, but he doesn't look like the same elite route runner we know. He's not the threat to defenses that he once was. As for the receivers, yeah, like I said, it was a pretty awful game for them, and they're desperately going to need Xavier Worthy to get back healthy. If this Xavier Worthy injury is serious, we could see this Chiefs season start to derail and fast. But overall, liked what I saw out of the Chargers. A huge division win, especially in the AFC West, which is going to be a bloodbath for all involved. And overall, Justin Herbert looks like that guy. As for the Chiefs, I'm going to have to see a turnaround quick, especially at the receivers, because Mahomes can't do this on his own. He looked extraordinary, but at the end of the day, you are only as good as your weapons can be. If your receivers let you down so consistently, you're not going to be able to win games in this league. And overall, while I'm not hitting the panic button yet, if these receivers don't get back healthy, I will be concerned about the Chiefs' long-term outlook, especially for this season. Next up, let's get right into the Sunday slate, and we have a bad one to open this up. The Miami Dolphins fall to the Indianapolis Colts 38-33. If you are a Dolphins fan, this is a catastrophic loss. Tua looked absolutely awful and could not stop throwing meatballs to the defense, could not stop turning over the ball. 2 interceptions and a lost fumble. Absolutely unacceptable performance for this Dolphins offense. I understand Jalen Waddle did get injured, but Tyreek's out there. Devon Achane. I've never seen this offense look so bad before. And ultimately, while that 8 points is on there, I think it's a facade. It was a garbage time touchdown when Devon Achane just made something out of nothing. This offense effectively got absolutely dismantled. As for the defense, I expect them to be bad. But to get torched by Daniel Jones is just next level awful. Daniel Jones went absolutely ballistic this game, and the Colts could not stop destroying them. Shout out to JT as well. Had a great game on the ground. But overall, if I'm the Miami Dolphins, and this is how the defense is playing against the Daniel Jones-led Colts, what's it going to be like against Josh Allen? What's it going to be like against Patrick Mahomes? How is this team going to stay afloat and competitive against teams with competent offenses? I mean, if even an average quarterback comes in here, this could end up being a disaster for them. And if this season continues like this, don't be surprised if we see a firing of Mike McDaniels. Don't be surprised if by next year, this Dolphins team looks totally different. But overall, as for the Colts, another team who I thought may be on the hot seat for a whole roster as a whole, shout out to him. Shane Sheikhans did a good job. It was a good game plan. Absolutely cooked these Dolphins. And while I'm not necessarily here to claim that Daniel Jones is going to lead the Colts to the playoffs and save everyone's jobs, I mean, you couldn't ask for a better start. Defense looked phenomenal against what should have been a good offense. Offense looked like it was clicking, so shout out them. We'll see if they can keep it up. If this is sustainable, maybe they could have a chance at an AFC South that could be weaker this year. Next game was a good one as Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers returned to MetLife Stadium for his revenge game against the New York Jets. And this one was a pleasant surprise. It ended up being a classic QB battle and probably the game of the noon slate, which was surprising considering a lot of people were making this to be a defensive matchup, not a lot of points, sloppy offensive football, but it wasn't. It was an offensive masterclass, honestly. Like, Aaron Rodgers went absolutely ballistic against that Jets secondary. Other than Sauce, no one was really performing. Receivers were running wide open, and these aren't elite receivers. It wasn't DK Metcalf killing the Jets necessarily. It was Ben Skoranek. It was Pat Freiermuth. It was these other supporting cast, and they were just running open, and Aaron Rodgers was just taking what the defense was giving him. So overall, a great day for him, throwing 4 touchdowns. He did a good job. He did his job. As for the Jets, I was pleasantly surprised by this Justin Fields-led offense. I mean, Justin Fields looked sharp out there, and it wasn't just the running. It was some of the throws. Some of the late window, perfectly timed throws by Fields was stuff I had never seen out of him before, and it makes me optimistic that he may have genuinely taken the jump and a leap in his passing ability. But overall, very excited. Garrett Wilson looked great. Breece Hall looks back to form, and that young offensive line came ready to play. They absolutely dominated these trenches, especially Membu, who had a phenomenal game against T.J. Watt. So overall, a lot to love on this Jets offense. While they came up short, I think that's where the concern comes is the defense this year. Other than Sauce, that secondary is Swiss cheese. Brandon Stevens gave up 2 touchdowns. Tony Adams was always near a big play, and ultimately it was because they weren't turning their head. They weren't following the ball, and they weren't making the plays they needed to, especially against a receivers team. Sauce had DK most of the time. It shouldn't have been that hard for Stevens and Cisco and Tony Adams to step up, but ultimately they could not get the job done. So I do have concern for the secondary moving forward, but I have some renewed optimism for the Jets offense. They looked really good against the Steelers defense that's supposed to be a good unit. While it's going to be an uphill battle, I'm hoping the Jets can be a team that can have some respect this year, that can at least be a team that you don't guarantee mark out as a win, a team that's going to be gritty, aggressive, and have good play calling for once. As for the Steelers, Chris Boswell is absolutely insane. He's a machine. 60-yard field goal for the win, and it was comfortable too. So shout out to them. I think the offense played well. Defense, a lot to work on, especially in the run game, but I expect them to get better. And if that offense can continue at this level and the defense can meet them, they're definitely going to be competing for a wild card, if not the division. Next game on the slate, Panthers Jaguars, a game of young teams looking for some renewed optimism going into the season, young offensive coaching staffs, and honestly, the offenses were not the story of this game. Ultimately, a weather delay did take like an hour of this game, so it meant that a lot of the offense slowed down. But this was kind of a blowout for Jacksonville. I mean, offensively, Panthers could not get much going. Chuba had an okay game. Bryce Young struggled against this Jacksonville defense that looks renewed compared to last year's absolute catastrophe. And overall, not much. Panthers defense did up and down. I don't think it was a great job, especially on the ground, where Travis Etienne went back to 2023 form and absolutely sliced and diced, averaging like 9 a carry, which is absolutely insane. But overall, I'm a little down on the Panthers this week. It's 1 week, but defense, especially rushing, looked awful. Like, that was Travis Etienne. It wasn't Derrick Henry. It wasn't an elite player, CMC. It was Travis Etienne, who had completely fallen off the face of the earth last year. So a little bit of concern. I think the offense is going to bounce back. Tet had a nice game, 5 catches, 64 yards about. As for the Jags offense, running game really took over. Not much from Brian Thomas or Travis Hunter, surprisingly, but I expect that to change. Liam Cohen's still a mastermind, but as for this game, I don't take too much into it because of the weather delay, but a nice game for Jacksonville. Carolina's going to need a bounce back. Super worried about their rushing defense, though. Next game on the slate, we have the Arizona Cardinals traveling to the Saints. As for the Saints, very low on them this year. Spencer Rattler tank year is what it feels like to me, honestly. But for Arizona, felt like a tune-up game for them, honestly. Offense wasn't necessarily electric, but they did enough. Kyler and Marv is starting to heat up. Kyler feels comfortable running this year. Surprising. Trey Benson really taking the role as the lead back this week. Obviously, James Conner was involved, but Trey Benson had the better yards per carry and was running better than James Conner this week. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on moving forward. But as for this game, Saints offense looked pretty pitiful for most of it. Could not score a touchdown. Asked Spencer Rattler to throw 47 times for whatever reason. I guess they were down for most of it, but still, Kamara got involved. He made one big play, but honestly, nothing spectacular. Cardinals look like they're warming up. They look good on offense. Their new look defense was promising, had a clutch play. But ultimately, I still think the Saints are going to be one of the, if not the worst team in the league this year based on what I've seen. As for Arizona, their offense is starting to warm up. I expect them to get better and better each week. Kyler and Marv could be big this year. Next game on the noon slate was a awful one. Commanders versus Giants. And as for the Giants, I don't know why I'm surprised, but I still was. Picked them in an upset win, actually. That definitely did not work. Their offense was absolutely putrid. Russ was not cooking at all. Could not get anything going for the most part. Run game, non-existent, and they failed to score a touchdown. This is a team that obviously always starts out pretty awful in the Week 1 openers. 40-0 shutout last 2 years ago. They got blown out the year prior. So this isn't a team that necessarily starts hot, but I do have my concerns. They looked really sloppy. Like, absolutely nothing got going. I'm worried for Malik Neighbors, honestly. He looks really frustrated, looks really upset. We could be seeing Jackson Dart in sooner than later if these disastrous games continue for the Giants. As for the Commanders, not a typical day offensively for them, which is crazy enough because they won the game in a blowout, put up 21 points, but I'm not super worried about them. This Giants unit is good. Their defense is supposed to be one of the better units in the league. Jerry McLaurin, quiet day, expected that. The holdout definitely took from the chemistry, but shout out to Deebo Samuel. Had a good game. 7 catches, 70-something yards, so definitely happy with that. As for, Jacoby Krosky Merritt, big game for Krosky Merritt. Very excited to see him in the lead back role. But overall, Commanders' offense looked solid. Defense did a great job shutting down the Giants. Not much to say. This was one they definitely should have had. It was an easy win for the Commanders, and they took it. Next game in the noon slate, Buccaneers versus Falcons, and oh wow, this was a good one. Bijan Robinson, not much in the rushing game, but him and Pennox had great chemistry through the air. Bijan made a ton of huge plays, especially for that big touchdown at the beginning of the game. Pennox played good. The box score is not going to tell you the whole story. I think he played well enough to win this game, even though they did ultimately lose. But I like what I saw out of the Falcons' offense and defense, too. Bucs are a great offense, and they got held to 27 points. But as for the Buccaneers, shout out to Emeka Egbuka. He looked good out there. Caught 2 passing touchdowns in his NFL debut. He's definitely going to be taking over for number 2 or even number 1. We'll see how Mike Evans plays throughout the year. Overall, Baker was doing a good job. Had a solid game through the air. Quiet game for Bucky, but I expect him to bounce back. Falcons' rush defense seems to be much improved this year, but overall, a good NFC South rivalry game. But if you're the Falcons, you can't help but feel like you could have had that one. Younghoe Koo misses the game-tying field goal. Maybe they get the ball back. Maybe Pennox wins the game. But overall, I liked what I saw out of both teams. I have some optimism, and I do think that while the Falcons didn't come up with this one, they're still going to be a good team. As for the Bucks, definitely still think they're the leader in the doghouse. That's the NFC South. And until farther notice, I still think they're my prediction for NFC South champs. Played a good game, solid game, nothing spectacular, but ultimately the win is the win. Next up was a odd game. The Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Cleveland Browns. Ultimately, Bengals come out on top here. It's odd for them week one. Normally, they play a sloppy defensive game that they end up losing, but this time they play a sloppy defensive game. They end up winning. Now, first, we're going to talk about it. Typical start for Cincy's offense. Jamar Chase, crickets. T. Higgins, not much going. Chase Brown had a touchdown, but not much either. Overall, they started out slow. They look sloppy, but let's not forget, Cleveland's a bad team, but they're a good defense. They have a great defensive line going there with Myles Garrett, Mason Graham. Like what I saw, they have an underrated secondary with Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome out there. So I did expect them to play a solid game against the Bengals, but ultimately, offense killed them. Joe Flacco throwing for 290 yards, no rushing game, threw 2 turnovers. This was a rough day on offense, and overall, this Bengals defense that was supposed to be awful didn't get absolutely shredded. Little concerned. Joe Flacco did still get 290 yards, but they weren't giving up points, so that's what counts. But overall, this is just the Browns. It's a tune-up game for the Bengals, and they need to be very careful because not every game you're going to play Joe Flacco. This defense could still end up getting torched next week, the week after, whenever. But overall, I don't expect much from the Bengals early. They always start out slow. Their offense is likely going to pick it up, but the question is, can that defense hold their line? And for the final game of the noon slate, we have the Las Vegas Raiders taking down the New England Patriots in a rock-solid game for both sides. I mean, I don't really know what else to say. There wasn't much going on. Genty wasn't extraordinary this game. Did have a touchdown, but didn't do much. Now, to his credit, this is a Patriots defensive front that's much improved and has full of good ball players, but I expected a little more, honestly. As for Geno, I liked what I saw. One turnover I wasn't a fan of, but I think he played a good game through the air. Bowers got involved until the injury, and I think that the offense could have done even more if Bowers was able to stay healthy, but overall, very excited for this Raiders passing offense. Defense played well against the New England's offense. I expected to be a little more revitalized. Drake May looked up and down so far against the Raiders defense that should have been an easier matchup on paper, honestly. But I expect the Patriots to get better. They're a young team. They're still getting chemistry. There are a lot of new additions and a new coaching staff, so don't necessarily count them out yet. But overall, impressed by the Raiders. Patriots still think there's a little bit of work to be done with the new team, especially with chemistry. Now let's get right into the afternoon games here, as we're going to start out with the San Francisco 49ers taking down the Seattle Seahawks 17-13. Now this game, I'm going to call it what it is. It felt like a defensive slugfest to me. Both of these teams are absolutely loaded on defense. 49ers having all these established players, whereas the Seahawks have a young core that's developing and keeps getting better every year under Mike McDonald. But overall, defenses both played great games today. Brock Purdy had some passing yard volume, had an okay game, but had some ugly turnovers too that can't be ignored. And obviously there's the elephant in the room, CMC Watch. I think he looked good. I mean, he was getting involved in the passing and the run game. Can't complain about this performance. Solid game for him, getting involved in all the levels. And if he can come back, I expect the Niners to be much improved this year. Shout out to Ricky Pearsall as well. Became a big target downfield, catching 4 passes for over 100 yards. So great start to his young season. As for the Seahawks offense, something to take note of. Charbonnet overtook Walker today in carries and yards. So wonder what's going on there. As for the passing offense, JSN was involved just like he was last year, but basically no one else was. Sam Darnold looked mediocre at best this game. Obviously, it's a good 49ers defensive front, but expect a little more. Expect the Seattle young defense to always keep them in games, but this offense has got to get it straightened out. I think they're talented enough to be a good offense, or at least be good enough to win 8-9 games, but we'll see. It's a long season ahead. As for the Niners, starting the season out right, 1-0, but they also started out 1-0 last year, so let's see if the wheels fall off. Next up, we have another afternoon game, a game I thought was going to be a rough time for the Tennessee Titans as they went into Denver to take on the Denver Broncos, but it was better than I thought, honestly. Pleasantly surprised by what I saw out of the Titans defense. Bo Nix's sophomore slump, question mark, maybe a bit of an overreaction, but he looks sloppy. The defense forced a lot of turnovers, and they kept their offense in the game, even though Cam Ward could not get anything going. Not saying it was all his fault. His supporting cast had a rough day, a couple drops, a couple poorly ran routes, but still, I expected a little more juice out of this offense, but I don't think it was necessarily all in Cam Ward. Don't think he got a bad game for his debut in Denver against probably a top 3 defense in the league, on paper at least. As for Denver, defense definitely won him this game. Got to shout him out. Bo Nix, offense, figure it out. R.J. Harvey looked good. Definitely got to get him involved. J.K. Dobbins looked okay as well. But Bo Nix in the passing game, figure it out. Can't be that sloppy all the time. There's going to be a time where your defense is not playing at that elite level necessarily, and they're going to need more out of that offense, in my opinion. And as for the last game in the afternoon slate, the Los Angeles Rams take down the Houston Texans 14-10. Let's get right into it. Houston Texans, I'm nervous. This was a defensive battle. The defensive front definitely showed up for Houston. They played a great game. Holding the Rams to 14 points is no slouching matter. It was a great job by them. But offense, C.J. Stroud, not a good game at all. As for the Nick Chubb, had a decent game on paper. Not sure how much impact it actually had in the end. But overall, very nervous about this Texans offensive line. Rams defensive front is good, and I expected this early, but they definitely were struggling. This new look offensive line, Caserio made the bold decision to trade Larry Tunsil this offseason, and we'll see if it pays off. Offensive line looks rough so far, and I mean, they're going to have to improve. I expect them to get better as the season goes on, and this was an admittedly tough matchup, but still, only 10 points in today's league, that's a rough start to the year. After the Rams offense, Puka absorbing the targets as per usual. Stafford played a good game, solid game, still not finishing drives necessarily, only putting up 14 points, but it was enough. Rams defense is going to be elite this year. Look out. Both these teams are going to have elite defenses, but the question I have for the Houston Texans is, can the offense do enough to win games? Especially with that offensive line, we're going to need to see more out of them and Stroud in the coming weeks. As for another game in the afternoon slate, we have the Detroit Lions falling to the Green Bay Packers in an ugly 27-13 loss. And let's talk about Detroit first before we get into Green Bay. I'm a little nervous. Obviously, the talent's there, and I still think they're a playoff team, but they look a little lost without their OC and DC. I mean, Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn were such essential parts, especially Ben Johnson to that offense. He made Jared Goff into a magician that we didn't see today. Quiet game in the running. Passing was up and down, and ultimately, I think what defined this Detroit offense the most was the inability to finish drives. They had a couple opportunities to score, and they could not do it. They could not finish the drive. They couldn't get in. While Green Bay is definitely a good unit, I'm concerned. This is the lowest point total they've had. It would have been all of last year, the lowest point total, and this is only the first week. This is a team that was putting up 40 on everyone. This was a team that would at least hit 20 points every week last year, and that just didn't happen. So a little concerned. I think they're going to figure it out. I think it's the growing pains of losing the best OC and a top DC in the league. But still, something to monitor. The talent's good, but has the window shut for their chance at competing for a Super Bowl? Only time will tell. As for the Green Bay Packers, I think their window just opened wider. Micah Parsons looks immediate impact, already having a sack in limited reps. So shout out to him. He looks like the missing piece for the Green Bay defense. Brought it from great to probably elite, maybe even top 3 in the league. As for the offense, everything looks smooth. Jordan Love played a good game. Josh Jacobs played a decent game, and can't complain about that. It was a solid game, and it was a great way to start the season, beating an NFC North rival, and just something to consider when it comes to the NFC North, how important these wins are. It's a great division full of loaded teams. You're going to need every win you can get, especially against rivals. So overall, Green Bay's off to a great start. I think this could be a year where they're competing for the 1 seed if they don't have it. So overall, exciting game for Green Bay. Detroit, not panicking, but I am a little worried. Now for the final game of the Sunday night slate, the Buffalo Bills take down the Baltimore Ravens 41-40. This was an instant classic game of the year candidate. To start out the game, we had Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry going absolutely ballistic. Derrick Henry looks like he's in for another historical season for a 31-year-old running back. Very excited to see that. But ultimately, they did a great job up into the fourth quarter, but Josh Allen, down 15, says, I'm going to put this team on my back, and he wins the game. He brings them back single-handedly back into this game. Shout out to Keon Coleman, who looks to be the leader in the young receiver room, and overall, a lot to love if you are a Buffalo Bills fan, as your quarterback is arguably the best one in the league, and no lead is safe as long as he's the Buffalo quarterback, and a lot to look forward to. While this game, there's a lot to work on as well. Defense did get torched by the run. I think as long as Josh Allen is the quarterback, they are going to be contenders, and they are going to have a great year where they're probably going to walk through the AFC East. As for the Ravens, I don't want to put the blame on any singular person. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry played good games, but ultimately, I think the blame has to kind of fall on John Harbaugh here. His failure to be aggressive. He should have gone for that fourth down instead of punt. It was a big mistake to give Josh Allen the ball with the momentum, with a gas defense, and I think ultimately, I want the John Harbaugh back, the one that said, Lamar, go for it. Kill the Chiefs. Go for it in your own territory to win the game. I think that was the aggressive spark they needed, and ultimately they could not get it done. They got conservative. They got scared. I still think they're going to be a great team this year, but ultimately, when it comes to the playoffs, you need that X factor, and they're going to need to figure this out. It's early, and it's okay to drop a game like this, but ultimately that was a loss that shouldn't have happened. You should have had that win. As for the Monday Night Football game versus Chicago versus Minnesota, that's not going to be on here. That's actually going to be on my TikTok and in YouTube Shorts, a quicker recap since the way all the filming went down. So please click the link in the description if you want to go check that out. But now we're going to get right into it with, I'm going to call it the top 5, the heroes, the zeros. Now first, let's start with the zeros. For the bottom 5 teams in the league, I'll put it up right now. I think that it seems like, while it's early, week 1, this stuff fluctuates a lot. I'm still going to give the worst team in the league spot to the New Orleans Saints. Their offense looked pretty bad against the Arizona defense that's still sort of amping up. While they played it close, I still think that the wheels are going to fall off in this team. Spencer Rattler throwing 50 times is not the answer to winning. As for the second to last spot, that's going to go to the New York Giants. They're going to be sliding down quite a bit. That offense looks absolutely atrocious. I just expected way more, and the teams above them just showed me just a little more life in that offense, even though the defense played okay. As for the third to last team, give me the Cleveland Browns. This is a bottom 3 team to me still. They played tight against the Bengals, but it's the week 1 Cincinnati Bengals. That's how it is. They always play kind of tight. And overall, don't expect much from this Joe Flacco offense. Run game looks pretty bad. As for the bottom 4 team, give me the Tennessee Titans. Think they are going to move up, but as of right now, they did not show enough offensively for me to be necessarily confident in their abilities moving forward. Definitely think there's time to move up, but as of right now, since they had the number 1 overall pick, they're going to need a little more time to move up. And as for the 5th worst team in the league, give me the Miami Dolphins. I get it. It's a free fall, but still, I think the performances I saw from some of the bad teams, Miami definitely blew those out of the park in awfulness. This was a team that had no offense. This was a team that got torched on defense. There was no positive about this team. Ultimately, they get some of the benefit of the doubt because they have more talent than some of the teams below them, but I expect them to make this place their home if a couple more ugly losses like that happen, or they could shoot up, maybe Tua and Tyreek bounce back. But as of right now, that's the working bottom 5, the zeros. Let's get into the heroes. As for the heroes, this is going to be my top 5 teams in the league. It should be up here about now. The Kansas City Chiefs coming at 5. I think that their reputation is going to hold them off a little bit longer, but there are teams knocking on the door. Another ugly loss like that, and the Chargers could easily be jumping right there into that 5th spot. There's a couple teams, Commanders, Chargers, knocking on the door, so definitely something to keep in mind there. As for number 4, I'm going to give it to the Baltimore Ravens. I'm not going to completely discount them because they still played great on offense despite the loss. Even though they had a meltdown, I still think that they're going to be a great team, and they're going to remain in this top 5. Now it's time to get in the top 3. Number 3, give me the Green Bay Packers. This team looked great on both sides of the ball and played a solid game and got a big win against the Detroit Lions. Got to give them credit there. They did a great job. I think their offense and defense is only going to get better from here, and I think they're going to be a mainstay in this top 3. And for the number 2 spot, give me the reigning Super Bowl champions, Philadelphia Eagles. They played a good game. They did their part. There's still concerns, but ultimately they are still the Super Bowl champions. They deserve that respect. They got the job done, and we'll see how it turns out. Definitely think there could be some fluctuation as the season goes on, but as of right now, they're staying in my 2. As for the best team in the league, this one was always going to be kind of obvious to me. The winner of the Bills and the Ravens was always going to get it, and it was the Buffalo Bills. While they may not be as talented as some of these other teams, other than obviously quarterback, which is elite, they make it work. They're a great, well-oiled machine in coaching. Their defense does have some concerns, but still, they beat what I thought was going to be the best team in the league going into the year in the Baltimore Ravens, and they deserve respect. Josh Allen's playing on another level. He is comfortably the best quarterback in the league after that performance, obviously. Long season, but as of right now, I think the Buffalo Bills are the best team in the league. We'll see how they play next week against the Jets. But I hope everyone enjoyed this video recapping the NFL. This is week 1. I will be back here next week to recap all of week 2. And Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on all the socials at ProBallPod, and I will see you guys back here next week.